Welcome all today for a very special session on quantum supremacy. Are we near it? Joining me is Vinayak Godse, CEO, Data Security Council of India. Uh, I would say quantum is going on a quantum speed. There's so much that is happening in the quantum space, especially with the introduction of Google's Willow chip and NIST finalist and everything else. To let us all know where we are heading in the quantum era. Vinayak is joining us for this very special session. In the next 30 minutes, Vinayak will take us through what is happening in the quantum domain and what are some of the opportunities for all of us. With that, Vinayak, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Teja, and I welcome all of the participants to this or dwell into quantum and the discussion which is happening around quantum. And there's certainly anxiety, excitement, and um, concerns as well, ki where exactly it is leading. So there is a history of almost 10, 15, 20 years of time where this science of quantum is progressing, and people had been, especially in last 5 years of time, uh, we are seeing a lot of development, lot of effort being put together, a lot of startups in this area, research is happening. If you even just take an example of in India, how many researchers are working in a quantum? There are almost 170 plus professors which are working on quantum mechanics, different technology, and uh, they are trying to develop specialization, kind of dwelling into the area. Some of them are doing deep research, and we also see the kind of commitment of investment that we see in other geography like US, China, in Europe as well, right? And we also see this is a very critical, important paradigm of technology which is coming. And as a country, yes, there are independent research happening in different academic institutions and professors are working, and there are some startups in this area as well. But at a national level, there is a national quantum mission that has been set up by government of India, right? So when this is happening, and this there is always a when there is a idea of a history of science, right? And there is a method to understand how these evaluations are happening. So there is a paradigm that under which we work, right? And there is certainly a paradigm we all know. So current paradigm is more generative AI. Current paradigm is more like a high-speed computing, and especially what we see the NVIDIA did in terms of the providing the compute for uh, planetary processing of data, and that getting processed almost 10 days to 25, 10 days to 23 kind of floating operations per second. The models are trillion parameters, quadrillion parameters matter models coming in. So the one is the generally, and other at a planetary level, the way the wisdoms are getting processed and getting delivered to the different use cases. Other is the compute, but and then there are other things which is like physical environment coming more to digital, like in case of industry 4.50, in case of the uh, embedded devices in EV. So there are a lot of these things that still connect to a paradigm, and that paradigm of processing, paradigm of a data, paradigm of a digitizing through sensors, and then paradigm of a compute is also there, right? And the current paradigm is still a very silicon driven um computing paradigm, and we are certainly going advancing there as well. So we are increasingly thinking about there will be certainly 1.4 nanometer silicon chip available by in next 2 3 years of time, and entire ecosystem is going to see how can we make use of that particular processing power. And there are various different innovations are pushing a tremendous amount of investment, and current investment is going because of the tremendous possibility that people see in terms of AI. And AI is just pushing a lot of these innovations in a area of computing, area of various different things. But in computing, silicon is certainly one important, and that's why they call bit computing, and we have learned that as a computing. But this paradigm of compute in terms of bit compute or bit processing has now, so everything is around this until now, right? When we talk about computing, but that is going to change, and that is already changed to some extent. But that's what the qubits comes into picture. I'm not dwelling into qubits as a part of this particular session, but uh, qubit is a entirely different way of doing the processing. And we also had seen now there is a photonic processor coming, so there's photonic computing would come, and there is also neuromorphic computing coming. Suddenly there is a new paradigm where bit qubit photonic photons, and importantly the neurons, which is a neuromorphic computing. Suddenly the computing, you will get a three more options apart from the bit option basically. So there will be suddenly age where we'll be going near to that, where we have bit qubit photon and neuron basically. So we'll be having four different foundational computing that will be available to us, and they will be changing the way the processing will happen basically. And that will change a lot the way the world would be in coming future basically, right? So what I try to do for this particular session is to understand, because all this is a kind of curiosity, anxiety, and all the news that got triggered because of this announcement that Google made with its Willow chip. Because we know about this phenomena, but this phenomena we are looking at how this phenomena can really change the way things happen. Can it really advance the timeline of quantum computing basically? And when will the commercial level quantum computer will be available? There is a definitely certain timeline that people thought about, but probably this breakthrough of this particular chip, which is able to uh, provide that error correction and correction in also on the fly. So that is now significant breakthrough, and that probably advances some of the quantum computing possibilities. And today's interaction is basically interaction where we will talk about what that chip means and how it will go through. And there is a already a discussion of quantum supremacy, and some of us now understand the language of what do you mean by quantum supremacy. And if you have looked at that particular conversation, it did talk about quantum supremacy means something even supercomputing will not able to do. It will take almost 100 millions of year to process a particular workload, which will be done by quantum by 5 minutes or 10 minutes of time basically. So quantum supremacy is like no conventional computing that exists in the world. No matter you take all the GPUs of the world together and do a big supercomputing quality, will able to match what level and speed at which the quantum will be processing basically. So that's how the supremacy is discussed. And then there are people are saying it will take 2040 actually to have the quantum computer in place, or 2030 pi. But now because of this chip, people have started saying that it could happen in next 2 3 years of time basically, right? So just to understand this, I think we need to understand what this quantum chip is, what is this quantum processor is basically, right? So I put together one kind of a slide to make us understand this. I'm just presenting my screen. So idea is to understand the chip, and then we talk about what exactly this will chip and how exactly it will uh, advance, and probably can it does it have uh, capability to show us the reality of the quantum computer in coming near future, right? So if you have to really understand the quantum processor or quantum chip, so these are the different things that goes in a quantum chip, right? One is the um, we know that the quantum mechanism that uh, that uh, requires you, because the quantum state is an important state, and to achieve that quantum state you need primary two things. So we know that at a cryogenic environment, uh, the material behave in a quantum state, and that's why you need a cryogenic environment enclosure, which is uh, which would help you to go to the level where uh, these particles are would be available in a way of their quantum state, basically, right? And now these enclosures are becoming more and more advanced, and uh, apart from probably providing this low temperature environment, they're also being evolved to make sure that the operations reach to their optimal state, basically, right? And this is always a concept of like, one is the temperature, other is the free space, basically, right? Means if the temperature is coming to that level, you go to quantum state, and then there's a free space available which doesn't introduce any noise, then you will achieve quite significant thing on a quantum phenomena, right? So one important part of the cryogenic environment enclosure. Second part is then you develop a kind of a supercomputing circuitry assembly on top of it, basically, right? So which would help you to, what that means is like, at the end of the day, you want to solve the problem, right? And those problem solution, we all know that in case of the bit computing, it will be translating into the bits, and it will be doing those kind of operations of those transistors that get fired based on the data that you have, which get converted into assembly language, and then it gets converted to different bits, and then it get actually worked on this kind of transistor works, basically. Here also, you need to basically uh, create an assembly which could help you to process that information. And then one of the important thing that comes there is, because you quantum behavior, you change it to some kind of a observation. And I'm not really dwelling too much into what you mean by quantum basic phenomena, entanglement, and for that matter, we also talk about superimposition. um, for that, the basic idea there is that you change the behavior when you change the behavior by seeing things. You just imagine that two kids, or a kid is playing in a room, and it is very freely jumping, running, right? And do whatever it comes to its mind, basically, right? A very free-willing mind. But moment somebody sees that, right, that kid in a room, basically, it changes the behavior. So quantum phenomena is like that, basically, right? So once you see this, it changes the behavior, and that's the property we use to change, to process the information, right? And then you need to work with that property on quantum state, and supercomputing circuitry assembly does that for you, right? Then you also, once you have this basic core thing, then you probably build a kind of a quantum processor assembly where you can, there is a processing unit, and there is a way for you to engage and use those processing capability through some algorithm. So then quantum processor assembly also becomes a very important part of the chip, basically, right? uh, as we discussed that behavior changes, and based on workload that you have, it does those kind of quantum phenomena. And measuring that, or understanding those state, basically, is one of the important way to get a outcome of a quantum phenomena, right? It's to get a outcome. Definitely you're putting some workload to process, they need to know ki what that outcome is, what is the output. So the quantum measurement systems extract those kind of outcome from the quantum circuitry chip, basically, right? So this is one part of the quantum chip. The other part of the quantum chip is basically uh, um, why you need micro pulse control system. As we discussed that seeing is changing the state, right? And microwave pulse are the one which does that activity, right? And depending on our workload, this microwave pulse control system will generate the pulse, and that pulse is a kind of a manipulation you introduce in terms of computing, basically. and the way you use it and where you change it, where you control it basically. So depending on your algorithm, depending on processing, basically this microcontroller, macro pulse control system would help you understand that basically, right? Help you control that, or help you process specific information. And one of the important part of here is like, while in case of the microprocessor we always try to do the high level to assembly level to the machine level basically. So this is the kind of a translation. So the microprocessor is a control system which change the behavior of quantum, and that behavior change is being used for processing basically, right? And once you have that, then we have multiple quantum qubits, and then you may set up an array of those qubits together, and you set up array format so that you achieve more processing power and more computational efficiency basically. And that's why you need quantum array assembly as well, right? Then once you have that array assembly, then one part is the quantum array assembly, but other part is also the qubit configuration and qubit computation basically. So these are two different things. So one is the how you are assembling thing, and then how you are making qubits to work with each other basically, right? How they are arranged, how they are configured, and how they are bringing entire computational power to the table basically. And quantum array assembly helps you to bring the efficiency in the table basically, right? And then at the end of the we still use a conventional way to engage and interact with these systems, and that's why we have this connection assembly, which provides us a programmable interface, and with that interface we can uh, our world, which is a digital world or a semiconductor world. So through that we can, FPGA could be a way for us to engage and control, or probably translate our world to the quantum world basically. So this is a mechanism, this is a composition of a quantum chip basically, and many more things are coming, but these are largely the blocks that we see in a quantum chip basically. And this willow chip would have most of these blocks that I just talked about. And one of the key thing which it had done is that in the process, in the ecosystem, it introduced one of the key thing in this all ecosystem, because this is a quantum state that we just talked about. When this is a quantum state, the behavior of particle which are random in nature, and we change their behavior by observing them through microprocessor pulse control system. When we are changing those behavior, uh, and if there is a possibility of and that's the key challenge of getting the quantum computer uh, in a reality time, is like during the course of time it may during the course of time it may lose basically, some noise may come and it may lose that quantum behavior as well, right? And that's why it may introduce some of the errors, and controlling that error and bringing that error to a threshold, so that you can process the information comfortably without having been worried about the noise. So the willow chip has brought that noise level quite within the acceptable level. There is a test which happens basically, and they are able to do two things. One is the error. So there is a concept of, if you add more qubits basically, they will introduce more error. So Willow achieved two things basically here. So one important thing they achieved is the error correction itself. So they will not, it will, the way the physical qubit and logical qubit has been arranged in Willow, uh, adding the qubit, the error itself will not, they devise a method where error doesn't get too much and error is corrected, error rate is significantly lower. That's one part of the story. Second part of story is, if error get correct, if error get on the fly and some error get introduced, so there is a real time correction of that error. That is also another important thing that the Willow achieved basically. And because of these two things, you can build multiple. So they say for some of the complex application, real time real applications of a quantum, you probably need build millions of qubits to work together basically. But as we had seen that if you add more and more qubit, it will introduces error basically. So one part that Google is trying to achieve is like by adding qubits, it will itself not lead to significant of error. And even if error comes, second part that it achieves, the error comes, it can correct the error on the fly basically. And with these two, I think it advances the quantum journey quite intensely, and that's the next part of the discussion basically, right? So when we have this understanding, right, then we need to understand like what it will lead to, right? It lead to because there is a timeline that people thought about, right? And there is a now probability also which comes with quantum. So probability, like there's people are saying uh, it, because of this, the probability of commercial grade quantum computer coming is and probability of advancing that by 2030s, even 1 or 2 years before 30s can also happen, is improved quite significantly. And the probability of it happens by 2035 goes down basically. So what it means that things would be a little bit near, and maybe if you are able to build bigger qubits, you are able to build number of qubits with this kind of mechanism, and they are able to achieve this, then probably we'll get into that age where until now it is more experimental in nature, where experiments, they have taken all of those experiments and they have brought this chip to experiment level. But to bring that to the production level, bring that to the real application level, you need that confidence in terms of the error, in terms of the all these complications that we just talked about. So this is a very significant milestone that we see had been achieved by Google, and that's why that becomes a talk of story everywhere basically. And because of this, I think things would be a little bit near to us. Some people are not little bit, but quite significantly near. We will have commercial application come seeing that happening, say 2030, but some people are saying it could happen in 3 years of time, and that probability also exists, and probability of things could happen in 2027 is also significantly improved the way it was. So means what has been in an experimental lab setup, if that happens in a real term, in a real application, then things would change a lot. And we already are seeing and grappling to understand AI, right? And just imagine AI, the key part of the AI is the limitation of processing power. Otherwise, models can really scale up quite intensely. Now, quantum computing aiding its capability to AI uh, is one important, but there is a loop that will get created basically, and people are already talking about that loop. So quantum aiding AI and AI aiding quantum. With solving some of these teething problem, AI can help much better because AI can help you to understand all of those possibility, all of those nuances in millions and billions of the ecosystem, and finding that one small thing, a big thing basically, which could solve, which could get solved, and which could get us quantum computer next level basically. So AI can help discoveries of quantum, and quantum with this power can aid AI. So this loop will create a very different world, and that's where there is excitement, there's anxiety, and there is a concerns of security as well, basically, right? So this is what I wanted to talk, and we certainly, as the Data Security Council of India and National Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity Technology and Entrepreneurship, and plus we have this Texas initiative. So we are looking to really start this training program. We say this as DSA certified quantum technology and security professional program, which will go into details of this to understand and look at the application of this. This not only security, will also cover the technology, will cover the applications of this technology, and how day-to-day life, different sectors, basically those applications could work, and also kind of security problem it will create, and also together AI and quantum, what will this lead to basically. So that's the idea basically, that we thought like to set up this kind of an intense training program. But this as a DSCI, last almost 7, 8, 10 years of time we have been following the quantum development closely. We are seeing what is happening in National Quantum Mission. We also kind of accelerate the quantum security startup in the country. We engaged a lot of user company on quantum technology, and with all that experience, all of those exposure until now, we thought like engaging community, the security professional, but more important, digital CIO community, because they are the one who will be leveraging this capability much better, right? To engage with them on this quantum technology mission and see, as a country, we are a little bit ahead, a little bit early catching phenomena we create in the country with respect to quantum technology. So that was the basic intent and idea of today's this LinkedIn Live. So if there are some question, we can take those question, Teja.
Thanks, Vinayak, for such an insightful discussion. I have two questions here. The first question is really about the applications of quantum chip or quantum computing in, let's say, for a common man. For example, right now we see, okay, quantum computing is going to come and then it's going to help in drug discovery, or it's going to strengthen your cryptography or break cryptography and so on and so forth. These are largely targeted towards a specific application. But do you see in the next 10, 15 years, 20 years down the lane, quantum computing essentially coming into our day-to-day use cases? Let's say that can be used in an office setting or a home setting.
Yeah, yeah. So I think because I know this chip is a little bit requiring something more than what
Yeah,
we usually do. So this require cryogenic setup. It requires the super computing environment and microwave pulse. So uh, if you're able to miniaturize this and it can come to end devices, that's still a lot of things that needs to be coming together for that. But at a cloud, it is already been offered by IBM, right? And
correct.
you can and because then all this could be sitting on data center and then you use it on cloud. So and there, I think there are a lot of possibility. I believe that could come for this phenomenon. We all can use, and already I think IBM offers qubit computing capability on cloud, and you can leverage that, and people are using that to do such kind of discovery application, such kind of scientific application, or for example, medical researchers basically. So material science research people are doing, but it could
Hmm,
be helpful for us to even in our day-to-day application as well. So we
hmm,
have this use case mapping that we have been doing. What kind of day-to-day enterprise application that could be solved with different phenomena of quantum basically, right? We don't have time, but probably this training that we are setting up, we'll be dwelling that into detail actually.
yeah. So Vinayak, one next question, Mr. Arun is asking, how fast and far are we moving as a country in quantum computing through National Quantum Mission?
So these are these three, four different themes that comes when you talk about quantum. When we talk about processor communication, there is a material as well. So there are this thematic hub which has been initiated by uh, as a part of this national quantum mission, and under that the various different research investments have been made, and we already seeing the some quantum processor getting available in India. We are also seeing communication side significant investment being made, and there is already a lot of research capability exist in some of the CDAC, IITs, and there is a research institute like SET Chennai. And then there are startups in this area, and government of India has also given quite a significant investment to the startups as well, actually. So we believe we have commercial grade technology available in the country as well as research available. I know key processor is a quite a significant investment that will take still some time, but at least there are 8, 9, 10 startups in the area. There are professors working in this area. So that way, we probably would fall into uh, a kind of a leadership. If there is a group of leadership of a quantum technology, basically India may come in that particular thing. But yes, one part is it shouldn't happen in silo. research will happen, but our basic idea is to engage with the user community of this country, especially CIOs and technologies, basically to make sure that we make use of this and productize this early. When we productize it early, we'll be much higher with respect to how exactly we achieve some of these things in the country. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Vinayak. With that, we come to the very end of the LinkedIn live session. I invite all of you to join us in the DCQTSP training, wherein we'll go into a lot more deep level into everything that Vinayak discussed and more. And we'll also be looking at essentially what are some of the use cases that you can use quantum in today in your enterprise applications and day-to-day work. With that, I thank every one of you to join for joining this session, and I thank Vinayak for his insights in the last 30 minutes. We certainly learned a lot from you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.